Everybody, welcome to our Teen Jute Coaster Craft program. Thank you for joining us today. At this point, I'm assuming you all have your craft kits picked up. So go ahead and make sure that you have that with you. You'll also want a pair of good scissors, and you would need a hot glue gun today for this craft. You want to grab a couple extra glue sticks because we will be using quite a bit of our hot glue to create our project today. We want to make sure it's good and secure so it doesn't unravel later on. Well, let's go ahead and get started. This is a sample of the coasters we're going to be creating, and in your kit you will have received 3 complementary colors of embroidery floss. So we'll put that final project off to the side. To get started with our project, you are going to select one color of your floss. And I have some other colors here that I've already used a little bit of, so I think I'll use those instead of opening a new package. So the first step in your project is to take one color of your floss, and you're going to want to tie it onto your jute rope. And so get that on there good and secure. If you have a long tail coming off the other side after your knot, you can kind of trim that back a little bit and put that extra piece off to the side. What we're going to do for the first part of our project is wrap our embroidery floss around the jute rope. So you just start wrapping, so you cover all of the jute color and continue with that, and can make it any length that you prefer. So if you look at my coaster that we have as a sample, some of the lengths are a little bit longer, some are pretty narrow, some are medium size. So you can decide what look you would like to have for your coaster. If you want a variety of lengths or if you want them all uniform, that's just kind of a personal preference. So you go ahead and determine how you feel about that. Once you get your embroidery floss to the length that you prefer, the next step then is to tie that floss onto your rope. So you're going to want to tie another knot to secure that floss on there well. So get that knot good and tight, and that way it won't unravel. You want to make sure you get a good knot. You might even do 2 knots just to make sure that it's not going to come undone after you get your project done. So likely you will have a tail of floss. Go ahead and trim that back. It's okay if there's a little bit showing like this. You can kind of see that little tail, because when you're gluing it onto the coaster, you can make that disappear where you can't see it. So you are going to want to do this for the length of your rope, the entire length. And I don't think that you need to watch me do that. It's pretty basic. Pick a color, tie it on, wrap it, make it the width that you prefer. It can be long, short, medium, and then space however you want to, randomly or uniformly, until you're at the end of the rope. And then we will proceed with the next part of our project. Okay, let's pretend that you have your entire rope complete with your embroidery floss. The next step for your project will be to adhere your rope to your coaster. We decided to use the little thin cork coasters because it would be a nice soft surface on your countertop or tabletop, whatever you're using your coaster on, and it gives you a good place to use your glue and adhere it. Some of the projects that you'll see online making these coasters, people just did a free-for-all and didn't put anything underneath, but I think it makes it look a little cleaner on the back, then you don't have a lot of the hot glue blobs seeping out everywhere. So I think it gives it a nice finished look. So what you're going to do to get you started is to take your hot glue gun and you are going to put a very large glob of hot glue in the middle to get you started. So there I have a nice glob. I'm going to take my tail, place it in the center, push it down and hold it tight for a while. If you've worked with hot glue before, you know that it takes just a little bit for it to set up. And so we want to make sure that it's really good and secure before we start wrapping. This is kind of a two-handed approach to this project, and it's going to take a little bit of muscle. You're going to be wrapping and gluing and pushing down all at the same time. So what we're hoping to do, I'm going to put this off to the side, is ultimately, and I can do this without gluing anymore, but you're going to want to then wrap it around like this, kind of get a tight little circle going, and you're just going to continue wrapping and wrapping. But as you wrap, you're going to be squirting glue as you go, so it's secure. So you'll wrap and glue, wrap and glue, hold it down, push it down to keep it flat. And you're going to do that all the way around your cork. You're going to go around and around and around and around and around. Now, if you get off center, you can kind of see that I've got a little bit of cork over here that I didn't cover, but the rest of it is. That's fine. When you're all done, you can trim that back with scissors or an X-Acto knife if you have one. So don't worry about that. What I do want to show you is that when you finally get around to the end, you don't want this abrupt, flat cut off on your end. That just doesn't look as much fun. So when you get to the end of your project, you're going to angle cut the rope. So it's a little bit, it's because I didn't glue that, it kind of popped off, but I can kind of show you again here. You want to angle cut that so it blends in a little bit more. And you'll see, jute is messy. It leaves some little shreds of fibers on your counter. So just ignore that until you're done. So this looks a lot better. It's a lot smoother. So you would hot glue that down and just kind of smooth into it and adhere it. When you've got everything hot glued and secure on the top, when I did my project, I did go around the base edge with a thin strip of glue just to make sure that everything is good and secure on there. So it's really a fun project. It takes a little while to get it done. I mean, the difficult part is wrapping that floss around your jute. It takes a while, and when you're in the middle of that long string, it is somewhat difficult to wrap your floss around because you're having to work around this whole big piece of rope. You can give a rubber band, you could rubber band it up, and it makes it a little easier to get around, but it's very doable. Now, since we're done and you know what you're doing, I do want to share with you another approach to completing this project. You can put your floss on all before you start gluing, or if you want to, if you would like your placement of your colors a little more organized or specific to what you prefer, you can wrap as you go. So where I have this little part done, if I wanted to, I could now take another piece of my floss, if I hadn't wrapped it already, tie it on, and then I could wrap and wrap and wrap around as I go doing it, and that way I can determine the placement. I will tell you, I feel like that's a bit more difficult because then you're trying to wrap around all these different parts. However, it can certainly be done. So it just is whichever way you prefer. If you don't mind the random placement of your colors, because when you fill that whole rope initially, you don't really know where they're going to end up on your coaster, so it's just a little bit random. Or you can wait to wrap your floss after you start gluing, and then you can have a more specific placement of your floss. So all in all, friends, it's a really fun project. You can find all of these supplies here in town. Embroidery floss comes in hundreds of colors. They have it locally at discount stores, craft stores that we have, variety of colors. This jute rope comes in different sizes. You can get a little narrower piece of jute to work with, but then it would be a lot more wrapping and a lot more time. So I kind of went with a little bit thicker, but you can get this jute rope in rolls at local stores as well. And same with the flat cork, that's easy to find here in town. You can get it in pre-cut circles, or you can get flat sheets of it. So everything's easy to get if you are wanting to make additional coasters for your house, for your family as gifts or something like that, or a variety of colors. So when you're buying floss, if you are wanting to match exactly what you have, if you look at your floss, they have numbers at the bottom to tell you what this particular shade is. So grays are really complicated. So if you wanted to go get this very same color of gray, you would look next to the barcode. This shade of gray is 04. This particular shade of white, and there's a lot of shades of white, it tells you that this one is just this plain blank color. And then we have a black, and this is the 310 shade of black. And so the information's right on that floss if you want to create more that are identical to the project that you did. So thanks for crafting with us. I hope you guys had a fun time, and we hope to see you at the library soon. Have a great day.